Good evening. On any clear night, you will find amateur astronomers outdoors, making observations, taking notes and noting down what they see. Now, before we go any further, there are two things I want you to remember. First of all, astronomy is open to everyone. You don't need large, expensive telescopes. You can do a great deal with the naked eye or a pair of binoculars. And secondly, amateur work is really important. Amateurs do things professionals either don't want to do, can't do, or haven't got time to do. And a great deal is learned from this. Today, I think amateur astronomy is more important than ever been before. Well, with me now are two professionals, Dr. Chris Lintott and Lucy Green. So it really is now a great time for the amateur. And he can delve everywhere.
Absolutely. I think that, I mean, you hit the nail on the head there, that even with all this spacecraft, even with all the data we can get from professional observatories, and even with access to that data via the internet, there's still a huge amount of space for the kind of work that only amateurs can do. And as professional astronomers, I think we're unique amongst scientists in that we rely so heavily on collaboration with our amateur colleagues. Wherever you look, whether it's out into the distant universe, whether it's in our galaxy, or as you say, in the solar system, we really need people to help us sort through data and to make discoveries. I mean, you can see that, Lucy, in your field with the sun.
That's right. So my interest is in looking at solar activity, and after a really long, prolonged, quiet time, the activity is picking up. And we definitely need amateurs and professionals looking at the data. But also with the sun, we've had this interesting time where it's not necessarily been solar science that we've been working on. So the amateur community have discovered a huge number of comets in the SOHO data, in the LASCO coronagraphs, which look at the sun's atmosphere. Really unexpected delights coming from the fact that amateur scientists, amateur astronomers, have a different take on what they want to study.
I remember 1981, when the first comet was discovered to plunge into the sun, and we're very excited about that.
And it turns out it happens all the time. There are, what,
Exactly.
2,000 discovered in the SOHO images?
Yeah, over 2,000 of the Kreutz family that have been discovered. And it's given us lots and lots of information about cometary breakup, as well as doing counts of the number of comets in the inner solar system, or that come into the inner solar system, seeing more than we ever realised were present.
And actually, we're talking about comets plunging into the sun, but I think another really exciting set of amateur discoveries have been a series of dark spots on Jupiter that they think have come from the impact of something rather like comets. I mean, we saw this in the early 90s with Schumacher-Levy 9, another very serious amateur discovery, this comet that split up and hit Jupiter and left behind this sequence of bruises. And then just in the last couple of years, people like Anthony Wesley, who's an amateur observer down in Australia, have started spotting these scars on Jupiter's surface. And so what we thought was a once-in-a-few-hundred-year event back when we saw Schumacher-Levy 9, turns out to be something that happens every few years.
We're seeing just how dynamic the solar system is, which then has relevance to us, our lives, human space exploration in the future.
Yep, amateurs are looking for asteroids as well. In fact, there's going to be an impact on Earth. It may be an amateur, although there are big surveys, professional surveys as well. But if you want to really make your mark as an amateur, you can discover the asteroid that's going to kill us all. But then we talked about the planets, and the planets themselves change. We're used to seeing beautiful images of people like Damien Peach that show a ridiculous amount of detail on the planet. And what's interesting is that professionals depend upon those images, not just to put on the cover of our magazines, but as real science in the solar system.
I believe amateur astronomy is just as important as it's ever been.
I agree. I think we're more in need of amateur help than we've ever been. But there's more they can do.
I wonder what really is going to happen next. Well, thank you both very much indeed. Supernovae are stars that explode catastrophically, sending out millions of times more light than they normally do. It's important to find out how they behave, and we never know when to expect them, or which star is going to go supernova. This is where the amateur comes in. A supernova, when it flares up, is likely to be detected first by an amateur, because amateurs know the sky better than most professionals. They don't have to use instruments. Well, Peter Lawrence went down to Liverpool to meet two supernova hunters.
Dave Thompson and Brendan Martin are supernova hunters, and they belong to the country's oldest astronomical society, Liverpool, set up in 1881. They also design and build some extraordinary telescopes. I really look forward to coming to other people's back garden observatories because you never quite know what it is you're going to find. Now, I've come to a small village in rural Cheshire where behind this house there lurks something which is really rather special. The Liverpool Astronomical Society is a thriving group with some 200 members. They do research and also public shows. Later on tonight, they're taking me to Sefton Sands for some star spotting. Dave designs telescopes, and this is his Leviathan. The mirror is 30 inches wide, and the scope must be at least 20 feet long. Quite a whopper. Now, I love big telescopes, but this one is a real monster, isn't it? So, why did you build one this large?
For fun. I've always been interested in telescopes and astronomy, and you start off with a small telescope and they get bigger and bigger. Yeah. And we've ended up with this, which we make our own optics as well now.
You grind your own optics?
We make the mirrors as well. Yeah.
Wow, for a 30-inch telescope, that is incredible.
Lots of fun.
So what sort of objects really stand out for you when you've looked at them through this?
The lollipop objects, the best objects in the sky. The Orion Nebula M42 is absolutely stunning in colour and detail.
And you can see colour, of course.
Lots of colour, yes.
Amazing. Brendan?
For me, it was Jupiter. You could see colour, structure within the clouds. Right. I just didn't want to move away from the telescope.
That's astonishing, absolutely astonishing.
It was, yeah.
I would have to overcome my fear of heights before I could even look through the eyepiece. But down the bottom of the garden are more my kind of telescopes. They can even be operated from the comfort of your armchair. These telescopes were also designed and built by Dave, and they are robotic. They can be operated via the internet anywhere in the world. Oh, wow. This is what they call a telescope farm, I think, with telescopes everywhere.
Yes.
How fantastic. So these are all telescopes you built yourselves?
Yes.
Yeah. And here we've got a 20-inch?
It's a 20-inch half-metre telescope, Pal-Tazimuth mount, all homemade, yeah. With the UK weather, the automation side of things really helps as well. It allows us to get on sky within literally 30 seconds. We can be actually imaging.
Right, OK, so you don't actually come out here and stand with the telescope in the cold?
Either remote, but mostly autonomous. It is actually robotic.
Right, OK. The telescopes are used by the group for supernova hunting. A supernova occurs when a star explodes. Predictable, with a bright flash gone in a matter of hours. In galaxies millions of light years away, all we see of this supermassive explosion is a brief brightening of a star. It's crucial the big professional telescopes get onto them early, and that's where the amateurs come in. Brendan and his fellow supernova hunters have over 60,000 galaxy images looking for something that's different.
We image each galaxy twice.
Yeah.
And then the next day it's going through all those galaxies looking for any...
That's real dedication, actually, if you're sort of taking that number of images and going through them. That's research stuff, really, isn't it?
And it's also the anticipation of being the first one to see something.
Yeah. Dave and Brendan will be packing up their kit and will take it out on the road tonight to Sefton Sands near Southport. The Society have planned a cyborg astronomy event for the public. There have been astronomy gatherings here for over 10 years, and they're always popular. It's a very promising night. There are some clouds, but we can see the stars. It's incredibly cold, but that does not put off the diehards. The Liverpool Astronomical Society are here in force with their telescopes, and we have about 200 visitors of all ages. If the clouds stay away, we should give them all a look at the Moon, Jupiter, and maybe even the Orion Nebula later. Hi Dave, so you're here with the telescope set up for the cyborg event tonight.
That's right, yes.
And why do you do cyborg astronomy?
It's our way of bringing astronomy to the sidewalks. The American idea is the sidewalks, and the idea is to bring the astronomy out to the public.
Right, OK.
Not everybody can get into an observatory and look through an eyepiece.
No, that's a good point.
So the idea being is that we can provide facilities such as this. We have the lectures, basically what's on in the night sky, the latest events that are happening. But the other thing being is that a lot of the public want to buy a telescope. They don't know what to buy.
Yes.
That is one of the things that we do best, I think. At the same time, it generates an interest in the science.
Yes.
It generates interest in the youngsters who are doing this at school. This is part of the curriculum now.
Right, can you see the moon?
Tonight there is a crescent moon. our nearest celestial neighbour is always a good object to show kids and adults alike.
And this is the huge crater Clavius.
It's shaking.
Why is it wobbling? Because it was a cold night, like tonight, and all the hot air from the ground rises up, and it makes all the air waves up above us in front of the telescope.
Well done.
I'm trying to teach you a little bit. What's on the moon?
What?
A flag.
A flag, yes, there is a flag.
Footprints.
And footprints.
Yeah,
right.
from
First footprints there.
Neil Armstrong.
Brilliant. I see you've brought a pair of binoculars along with you. You're not an astronomer, you're just...
No, I just like to see the stars at night, and when it's a bright night, we sit in the garden and look up.
do you? Right,
Yeah.
okay,
I don't confess to know anything. I just like
That
to
doesn't
watch.
matter.
No,
You can
like
just
to
look
watch.
at the things and just enjoy them,
Yeah.
Binoculars are great, but big telescopes can show off the detail. Have you seen anything fantastic tonight?
We saw Jupiter and we saw three moons. I saw 3 stars together.
You saw 3 stars together?
5 and 5. I saw Jupiter and 3 moons.
So you've got little dots either side of Jupiter?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
This big white circle with like these fainty colours and then three dots next to them.
Oh, right, okay. Do you know one of those dots that's next to Jupiter is one of the biggest moons in the solar system? It's bigger than the planet Mercury. It's huge. It's called Ganymede.
Yeah.
Yes, wow. I'm really going to have to watch myself, because every youngster I've been speaking to so far tonight has actually been able to answer the questions that I've been giving to them. Everyone has had a fantastic night, and I have been blown away by the enthusiasm of the group and by the kids' knowledge of the planets. For more information about public nights near you, contact your local astronomical group. Details can be found on our website at bbc.co.uk/Sky at Night.
Well, Pete was down there having fun with the Liverpool Astronomical Society. But let's now turn to something else. Variable stars. Most stars shine steadily for year after year, century after century. But there are some that don't. These are the variable stars. They brighten and fade, and there are various different types. And it's important to find out how many types there are and how they behave. And this is where the amateur comes in. I'm joined now by Paul Abel and by Gary Poyner. Now, Gary, why do amateurs look at variable stars?
Well, it's a very important question, Patrick, and the answer is that professional astronomers don't do it. Most of our information that we have for variable stars, binocular variables, telescopic variables, come from the amateur astronomer. And indeed, all the information that we've gathered on variable stars over the last 100 or so years comes from amateur sources.
So it's really the amateurs play an intrinsic part in doing this.
Oh, absolutely. It can't be expressed enough that even an amateur astronomer with a pair of binoculars can make a significant contribution to variable star astronomy. But you do need patience, because with binoculars it doesn't happen overnight. You need to keep going and keep going.
Do you have a list of variables you observe very regularly?
Yes, I do. I have about 500 stars on my list, and I'll try and get through as many of those in 12 months as I can.
I have 20 on mine.
I have none on mine. I mean, selling the moon and planets is easy. A look at Saturn's rings is beautiful, or the polar ice caps of Mars. Sunrise over lunar craters, fantastic. How do you sell variable stars to, people just getting started?
Right, well, that's very easy. I would certainly say, look at a bright Mira star, something like Mira itself. You may be looking at a 12th magnitude star for 2 months, and then all of a sudden you go out one night, it's a magnitude 8.
So it gets very, very bright, enormously bright quickly.
Over a night, yeah, certainly. And if that doesn't capture your imagination, then the chances are that you're not going to be a variable star observer.
Nice to have seen you. Come back in the future.
Thank you very much, Patrick.
Over the years, I've done my best to interest young people in astronomy. I hope with some success, I don't know. Anyway, nowadays, there are new developments. There are big telescopes that schools can apply to use. 2-meter telescopes, real giants. And we send Crystal and Todd back to school to find out just how this works.
Portsmouth, full of naval heritage and a place from where so many ships have left on voyages of discovery, quests to find out more about our planet. These days, the frontiers of knowledge are explored not by ships, but by spacecraft and by telescopes. I became an astronomer because when I was at school, I was lucky enough to have access to a small telescope up on the playing fields. But the school here have access to something a little more impressive. Portsmouth Grammar School have invited me to join their Year 7 science class to do a bit of asteroid hunting. Physics teacher Jeremy Thomas has signed up to the National Schools Observatory, and they're able to use real images taken by a professional telescope. There are 2 asteroids lurking in these images from the archive, and it's the kids' job to go and find them.
And you're going to measure how fast these asteroids are moving. Because if we know how fast they're moving, then what can we maybe tell about them? Megan? Where they're going to hit the Earth? Jack?
You tell like NASA so they can like go blow it up.
Blow it up, okay. That is the Bruce Willis approach, okay. And Tom?
How far they've travelled.
How far they've travelled, what orbits they're in, what forces are affecting them, okay.
So I'm convinced I'm going to get into trouble for talking at the back, but I think I've got both asteroids. There's the bright one and there's a really faint one down at the bottom here. And so what we're looking for is the asteroids moving, and then when we've got that we can measure the speed with which they're moving and maybe even the size of the asteroid. The National Schools Observatory uses the 2-metre Liverpool telescope, which is on the island of La Palma in the Canary Islands, one of the best observing sites for astronomy anywhere in the world. The Liverpool telescope is primarily used for research, but 5% of its time is dedicated to schools, and it's all provided absolutely free. Professor Mike Bode helped set up the National Schools Observatory in 2005. It's run by the Liverpool John Moores University, and they're now taking up to 2,000 observations for schools every month, enough to wear out even the most dedicated of robots. So where did the idea for the National Schools Observatory come from?
Well, right from the start of the Liverpool Telescope project, we wanted to do something that involved putting our research and our technology back into the community to help to enthuse school kids particularly about the study of science and maths and technology and so on. And we started this off as a very local program, just in the Merseyside area. Eventually it became a national program, and we now have some international links. And from a very small beginning, we now have something like 2,000 schools registered with us across the country, and a goodly proportion of those, more than half, actively use the telescope.
That's fantastic.
So in fact, we've now delivered, I think today's number was something like 37,000 observations from the telescope successfully to schools.
Getting kids involved in this kind of hands-on activity is crucial in helping them learn how science is really done. Mind you, with a world-class telescope at their fingertips, there better not be any late homework.
Now for a change, we're going to have a history lesson. Believe me, the history of astronomy is fascinating. And one man who knows as much as anybody is Dr Allan Chapman. Welcome back, Allan.
It's a delight to be back with you, Patrick. A great honour and a delight.
Now, coming on to amateur astronomers, it's fair to say, isn't it, that in the early days, all the leading astronomers were amateurs.
Absolutely true, and not just in the early days. I would say until about not much more than 100 years ago.
Yes, all right.
In the past, if you wanted to do scientific research, not just in astronomy, but in all sorts of other sciences as well, you had to pay for it yourself. So you have brewers, great clergy, aristocrats, doctors, working lawyers, but you also have, and I've tried quite a lot of these, working men astronomers.
What do you think drove those early amateurs to do this painstaking
Intellectual curiosity,
yes.
And a love of learning, and also, too, I think in many cases, a deep faith.
The wish to find out.
The wish to find out, and also a love of technology. Astronomers have always been concerned with making things, and as we all know, astronomy is a deeply technological science. You can't just go out there and make fundamental discoveries in optics or cosmology just with the naked eye. You need instruments. And every generation, instrumentation is getting better, right from Thomas Harriot Honours, an amateur himself, in 1609, first observed the moon through a telescope.
Of course, many of those early observers made their own telescopes.
They did, yeah.
I mean, I could never do that.
They had to.
I'm completely hopeless. I
They had to do.
I don't know if you could make your own telescope, Patrick.
I did once. I made a telescope. It wasn't very good.
I never even tried. Amateurs are always great collaborators.
Tremendous.
But that's not a modern thing, is it?
Goes back again in the 19th century. The RAS was founded by amateurs. The Royal Society itself, if it's you, of course, are an honoured fellow, was founded in 1660 by private individuals. And let's bear in mind, what does the word amateur mean? We now often think of it in a rather not very good sense. The word amateur, of which they were deeply proud in the past, is a Latin word. The word amat. It means to love.
Really?
It means those who love what they're doing. It doesn't mean men in sheds, as we often think nowadays, but lovers. And Sir John Herschel proclaimed himself to be an amateur, because I am a lover of astronomy.
I would like to ask both of you, actually, but you first, Patrick. What do you think there will always be a place for the amateur in astronomy?
I'm absolutely certain of it. We'll find once again the amateurs lead the way.
I think they do. I have even heard of it rumoured, and you may too, Patrick, of an amateur cooperative project using commercial satellite technology to put something up there, nicknamed the Humble Space Telescope. And that could be a beginning.
Fascinating stuff, I think. There's plenty of left for the amateur to do. It's obvious.
Oh, there
we have a
certainly is.
fine heritage and a fine history to build on.
Tremendous.
Well, thank you both very much indeed. We've been talking about what the amateur can do for astronomy. Now let's turn the tables and see what astronomy can do for the amateurs. Well, we sent Pete, Paul and Chris North up to Northumberland of all places, and there they joined something we never done before, a star party. Believe me, there's much to be learned from that.
Kielder Water in Northumberland. The weather is looking good and the scenery gorgeous. It's the first star party for Pete, Paul and myself, and it's quite an adventure. It's in the heart of Kielder Forest and has a touch of the wild about it.
It's well supported by the local astronomical societies. Most stay on site. I wonder where we will be sleeping.
The BBC have organised a caravan and some tents for us and the crew. Paul, did you tell them you hate camping?
Hello there.
How are you
Welcome
doing?
to Kielder. What are you doing inside where I'm sleeping tonight?
Well, we'll see about that later,
We've got to draw lots, haven't we?
I think we're drawing lots to see who stays in the caravan, who gets the lovely tents.
OK.
The lovely tents. Well, you're so keen, you should go into them for sure.
Well, it's only a couple of hours till sunset, so we should think about getting these tents set up.
Tom! You'll need... Put the tents up. We're going to need a hand. I'm going to need a hand. Tom is the programme researcher and says he knows how to put a tent up, which is more than I do.
Well, I've succeeded.
I feel doom and despair.
So what do you do? Just throw it on the ground and it opens up into a full tent?
OK, we can stick one here.
And one here.
How difficult can it be? What? By God in heaven, what is all this?
That's the outer layer.
Is it? Jane, awfully sure that these are tents and not sleeping bags.
Where does the telly go?
It all looks so easy in the instructions.
Where's the one with the bend going then?
Across the front, across the doorway. Right, could one of you just come and grab the other end of these poles and bend them down to the back of the tent for me?
Oh, is that what happens?
Yeah. So stick that in the corner, you see the little holes on the tabs in the corners?
Are you sure?
No, but...
My word, this is difficult. Oh, I think, yes, OK. Yeah. And then you just put that one into that hole there.
Well, are you sure it's going to reach?
Yeah.
It's designed to stretch and bend. Mind your fingers.
Number one. This is a three-man tent.
Does that doesn't look right to me?
We'll be there in a minute, Pete.
Pete's turning his into some sort of artistic expression. I'll give you a hand. It's...
I don't know. This is so degrading.
It is, yes. Stop making an exhibition of yourself, Peter.
It's done.
It's done. That'll do. It's only for the crew. Time to draw lots about who stays in the caravan and who stays in the tents. You ready?
Okay. I do hope I get a tent.
It's a tent. And Jane, come on. And Vision, do you want to dip your hand in?
We got a luxury hotel.
Did you? Come on, Sound. I haven't opened mine yet.
Yes! For sale.
Pete's got the caravan and we're stuck
in the tents.
I can't let my fellow astronomers sleep out in the cold on their own. I'm giving up my place in the caravan to young Tom.
Kielder has one of the darkest sites in the country, and this time-lapse footage from previous star camps certainly looks impressive. Over the next 2 nights, we should get some extraordinary views of the gas giant Jupiter and some of our closest galactic neighbours, such as the Andromeda Galaxy and M81 with its companion M82. The star campers come here for the dark skies and much, much more.
Well, really, this event's about people with a very similar passion getting together. We get all sorts of people, novices, we get some experts. Some of the gear on here, it's about the same cost as a new car. Other gear, it's just binoculars or even Mark I eyeballs, really. There's nothing formal about it, but it's amazing how people want to share views through telescopes, the rest of it. Some people come up, want to know where the constellations are. For others, it's about imaging deep sky objects. It's all about sharing that passion, learning some of the tips, learning how to do stuff. It's much easier if somebody shows you.
Most of the star campers arrived yesterday and they had a clear night, so everyone is very cheery. There's certainly some serious telescopic kit around. Rupert, Paul and John, we just arrived. Last night was Thursday night and I hear it was rather clear. What kind of things do you see?
Yeah, we had about an hour and a half clear originally, up to about 2 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Some of the less able people went to bed about then, but it opened up again another hour later, and I think it was clear until almost 5 o'clock.
Wow, so the perseverance really paid off.
Yeah, there was a mixture of visual astronomy and some people getting their imaging rigs set up. Those of us who arrive early, we have the extra days to perhaps get everything set up and adjusted and ready for the clear spells when they come, which is a big advantage.
And so, I mean, what kind of things do you look at when you're here?
Well, my intention was to get my new telescope actually pointed at a star.
And when you say new telescope, it's really rather special because it's one you actually built yourself.
That's right, I built it from scratch, yes. It's taken me about 6 years. I designed it. It took me about a year to design and 5 years to make, and along the way I've had to learn about engineering and optics and all the rest of it, so it's been a really exciting journey, and this is the sort of cherry on the cake, is bringing it to Kielder for the first time and getting it going.
Did you get to see anything with it?
I did. I've got a photograph which isn't very impressive, but it's got round stars on it which are sharp, so I went to bed a happy man, didn't I?
Yeah. And here are some other images that Rupert took with his homemade telescope. This is the Orion Nebula, our nearest large star-forming area. Not bad at all. In this dark site, the astrophotographers are going for deep sky objects, which are normally wiped out by light pollution, such as the Pleiades star cluster, which contains hundreds of young stars. The Rosette Nebula, where young stars are lighting up the gas and dust around them, or the North America Nebula in the constellation of Cygnus. And finally, M51, or the Whirlpool Galaxy, where we think a big galaxy is swallowing up its little neighbour. You've been here for a couple of nights already?
Yes, we have. We arrived on Wednesday, so we had Wednesday and Thursday clear nights, which was better than last year. I think we didn't have any clear sky last year at all, so it's a big plus.
It's probably our favourite star party, isn't it, the Kielder one? It's really, really good fun, Yeah. And it was amazing, actually. On Thursday night, it started off really quite cloudy, and then as soon as it clears, you forget just how dark it is, don't you? And it's like, wow.
Some of our star campers have travelled from far afield to escape the streetlights, so we've been warned to keep our light pollution to an absolute minimum.
Well, as you can see, the caravan is now light-proof, so nothing can get out of there. We've got the motor cars. All of the lights have been taped over, so they're now safe. Chris is busily setting up his telescope. Good luck with that. And tents are set up. All we have to do now is wait for the darkness. We've switched to an infrared camera so we don't interfere with people's observing. Let's see how the star campers are getting on.
I just love M31, M33.
Yeah.
I love the messier objects, and I haven't got. People will say it different, but to me personally, I don't think I've got a really good, outstanding image of M31.
Right.
And that's what I wanted to come here for.
I've seen Cygnus pop out a few times.
Yes,
so
it has,
there is
and as the clouds sort
hope.
of drifted in and out.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, it's
teasing us at the moment, I think. That's the best way to describe it.
And teasing is a very good word.
So what do you get out of coming out to these campsites?
Trench foot. Freezing joints.
Great.
No, I mean, you know, if you want to do visual astronomy, you've got to put yourself out. You can't do it from towns. You've got to come to places like this.
Well, I've been wandering around the campsite further. We found some other astronomers right at the back here. And Jeff, you have your telescope set up here. This looks like a very large telescope.
We've just had a look through Jupiter, actually.
Oh, that's magnificent. You've got the moons there, the belts.
Yeah.
I always think that looking at a planet through a telescope, you can never beat it.
Well, Paul, it's about 11:30.
Yes.
So,
and look at it!
Yeah.
Absolutely look at it!
What would your verdicts be on the night so far?
Oh, tantalising glimpses of what could be.
Indeed.
Do you remember? We were looking over there at Taurus and it cleared away and it was phenomenal.
It was long enough to get my telescope on the Pleiades.
Yes.
That was about it.
That was it. And then it's gone again. Then it cleared over there earlier, didn't it? We made out the constellation Delphinus. And then that went again. And throughout it all, Jupiter's sort of been this sad, wobbly affair.
Well, we can but hope that the cloud will clear. It's all moving in different directions all the time, so maybe we'll get a big clear spot coming through.
Let's hope so.
This is a real community of telescopes and imagers here. Yeah,
it is.
Do you all live close together, or do you just all come together as a star party? Really?
I came here 3 years ago for the first time as a total novice.
Right.
Met a wonderful set of people. Learned so much in a weekend.
You know, one person, within minutes you'll know 10, 15 people.
Exactly.
You ask a question and you'll get 10, 15 perfectly good answers, and you can take your pick from a huge amount of knowledge, and it's fantastic.
That's fantastic, isn't it?
Fantastic.
Yeah.
The clouds stubbornly refuse to move. We can't delay the agony anymore. It's time to get into the tents. Weather's terrible. I suggest we go to bed.
I would agree with you. It's been pretty dire, actually, hasn't it?
I'm looking forward to my nice tent.
Are you?
Yes.
Let's see how that feels in the morning.
We'll ask the crew how their lovely caravan is.
Let's go.
I think I've got 2 inches of water in mine. That's my tent, Paul.
I know, it's your tent. It's day 2 of our star camp, and something isn't going to schedule. During the night, it started raining. Heavily. Did you hear the rain, Pete, or did you sleep through it?
As I said, did it rain? I'm not sure. No, actually, did it stop?
Didn't ever stop.
No,
didn't ever stop. Right.
Did any of it come into your tent?
I don't know. I was too scared to crying.
I've had a great time. We've been camping, outdoors, in the nature. Okay, it's a bit wet, isn't it?
But we're not going to let the rain dampen our spirits. Later, we have a trip up to Kielder Observatory. But first, there are some talks up at the castle. There are always interesting people to meet, things to look at, and some great books. The Adventures in Narrowband looks particularly interesting.
Pete and I are off to Kielder Observatory. It's about a mile away at the end of a remote Forestry Commission track.
Well, this is spectacular, isn't it?
It is. It's fantastic.
Wow.
It blends beautifully with the landscape and has commanding views over the lakes. But that's not why it's here. Kielder Observatory has 2 telescopes and a fantastic public observing platform. Gary Fields helps run the observatory and the star camps too. And there he is! He
Good
appears by
afternoon.
magic.
Hello, Gary.
Hi, Pete. How are you doing?
Nice
well,
to meet you.
Would you like to come see the 20-inch observatory?
I thought you'd never
please.
asked.
Yes.
Excellent. Let's go then.
Wow, look at that.
I know, it's impressive, isn't it?
Yes.
I do like a big telescope.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Phenomenal.
It's a reflecting telescope, which means the light bounces off the big 20-inch mirror at the bottom to the eyepiece at the top. Being so remote, there is absolutely no light pollution. The stars just jump out at you. The telescopes started working in 2008, and over the past 4 years they have imaged some fabulous objects such as the Horsehead Nebula in Orion, the Dumbbell Nebula where her star has shed off its outer layers, and the Witch's Broom. Lots to feast your eyes on.
But the telescopes at Kielder Observatory aren't just for pretty pictures. They're for the public to get their hands on.
Let me show you how easy it is to actually use this telescope. Of course we have the step ladders because this is where the eyepiece is at. You actually just grab a hold of it and move the telescope around quite easily. So we use the step ladders because we get quite a lot of school children here. And it's important that they get the full feel for how the telescope actually works. And one of the really interesting features about the instrument is, of course, it does this. The cage will actually rotate all the way around. So this aids the viewing position. So as well as that, we may be pointing the telescope at different parts of the sky, like that for instance. And to do that, we have to do one of the really cool things this observatory, of course, is to spin the thing around. So Paul, if you want to give that a twirl, because I know you've been dying to do it.
Will do. Very, very smooth, Gary. What's the most impressive thing you've seen through that?
Through this?
Yeah.
God, well, that's a question. I mean, I love it all. With a wide field eyepiece, you're counting the galaxies. These galaxies are not two-dimensional. They're scattered throughout space and time, of course, all at different distances. Yeah.
There's nothing like that information combined with a real-time view to give people a real sense of where we are in the universe.
Actually, that's
there is
absolutely
nothing
right.
better than that.
It is absolutely right.
And you are giving people that. That is just magnificent.
Yeah, it is. It's quite rewarding, yeah.
Kielder Observatory is run by volunteers and they host astronomical events throughout the year. Time to get back to our star party down below.
Our second night camping is a complete washout, with not a break in the rain. Everyone is either hiding in their tents or they're off to the pub. Early bed for us, I think.
It's the end of our star camp. The campers amongst us need a good breakfast to buck us up.
Breakfast is served.
Oh, look at that.
It was only an hour late.
Yeah. Well, here's to a fabulous first star camp, chaps.
Hopefully not our last.
Hopefully not our last.
No, definitely not.
We survived. Right.
The spring star camps are coming up all over the country, and it's your chance to visit them, either for the day or camping like us. Visit our website for more details at bbc.co.uk/Sky at Night. It's great fun, and if the skies stay clear, you're in for a real treat.
Well, I hope we've shown you how the ordinary person interested in astronomy can really make a difference. Next month, we come to our 55th anniversary, and we have 2 special programmes. Here is Chris Lintott to tell us more.
Have you ever dreamt of leaving the Earth behind and travelling out into space? Well, next month we're travelling at warp factor 55 to the edge of our known universe, stopping en route to take in the view. That will be the first of our 2 special programmes to celebrate 55 years of the Sky at Night. For the second, we'd like you to spend April taking part in a More Marathon. Patrick has picked out his favourite 55 objects, and he would like you to see as many as you can, whether it's with the naked eye or with a telescope. In the meantime, see our website at bbc.co.uk/Sky at Night for more information about these 2 very special programmes.
You know, 1957 and that first programme seemed long, long ago, and you've been with me all the way. It seems like yesterday. So now, until next month, good night.
Joan Rivers is out to impress the boss, Donald Trump, next on BBC One. It's the Celebrity Apprentice USA.